Hello everybody, and welcome to the video lesson that you have to do for homework. I'm going to tell you at the very end of class, at the very end of this video, what you have to do for homework. But first you should fill in all the slides as we go along. So in class, let me present. So in class, we left off on this slide where we were discussing how the molecules are different based on what is known as their R group. Alright, so here, if you look here, we circle here, the molecules are different based on what is at the bottom of the molecule in this picture, which is the R group. And then we left off at the very end of class, so the very, very end of class. Sorry, I have to go to the previous slide. So, saying that when you join two amino acids together, you do it by the process of dehydration synthesis by removing OH from one molecule here. So the OH from one molecule here, and the H from this molecule here, and you get out water, and then you form a bond right here. And that bond is always between the C and the N, and the C with the double bond O at the top. And this is how we would write this reaction. So please write this in the box. So you would have two amino acids. You would bond them together and make a dipeptide because there's two amino acids. And you would get out one water molecule. Okay, to make that bond. So if we look at the next slide, you'll see that this is a dipeptide. And then right here, in this location right here between the C double bond O and the N, that is the peptide bond. Now the R groups here are usually at the bottom where they could be at the top. This is the R group for one amino acid. It's a single hydrogen atom. And this is the R group for the other amino acid. It is a little bit more complicated. But again, these are two amino acids joined together by a peptide bond. But then they only different by their R group. So one thing that is unique about proteins is that they form three-dimensional shapes. So if we see here, we have this crazy little like ribbon structure here. Oh, I apologize. This crazy little ribbon structure here. After the amino acids bond together, and again, there's usually like 1,000 amino acids in a protein, the protein will fold and form this three-dimensional shape. Okay, and what makes it fold are the amino acids it has, but if you take upper level science course after this, you'll get more into what causes the protein to actually fold, but what causes it to fold is the different R groups that its amino acids have. And we will see in our lessons that the overall shape of the protein is going to determine the function of the protein. When we get into learning about enzymes, probably in about 2 weeks. So again, the only point here that you need to know is that after proteins bond, or after the amino acids bond together, the protein will fold to form a three-dimensional shape. An example of a protein that you may have heard of is hemoglobin. Okay, and hemoglobin is a protein located in the blood, and it carries oxygen. And we're going to talk more about this in class. But if your hemoglobin protein has a wrong amino acid, it can become misshapen. And this can lead to a disease which many of you have probably heard of, which is known as sickle cell anemia. And because of the protein being the wrong shape, and remember the role of this protein is to carry oxygen, it makes the red blood cells which carry oxygen the wrong shape. And this can lead to problems such as clotting, which we'll talk more about in class. But essentially, the person who has this misshapen hemoglobin protein that folded the wrong way can't carry oxygen effectively. And we're going to learn later in the course why we actually need oxygen to live. So our last and final slide is the functions of a protein, or what a protein does. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this Wednesday in class. So for now, right now, I just want you to write it down. So one, that they're used as structural material. So they build a lot of structures in living organisms. You'll see that they also make up our muscles. Our muscles are made of mostly protein. they function as hormones, just like lipids. Hormones can either be proteins or lipids, and we said that hormones are molecules that send messages from one part of the body to the other, and they're usually carried or always carried through our blood. And then they make up our muscles. So when you'll see people who are working out a lot of times or trying to gain muscle, they'll eat a protein shake before they work out, and that is to add protein to improve their muscle tone or increase the size of their muscles. We're going to learn that proteins play a huge role in transporting substances in living things. We talked about hemoglobin, which is an example, but we're going to see many instances where proteins help transport substances in living things. And then last but not, we have two more. They help fight disease. So you may have heard with this whole COVID thing, these things called antibodies, which help fight COVID-19. In class on Wednesday, we will discuss a little more about antibodies, but they're proteins and they help us fight diseases. And then last but not least, this term you probably have not heard, but we're going to get into it later. Many proteins are enzymes. I'm going to get more into what enzymes do, but enzymes help chemical reactions that we need to occur in our bodies or cells. So your homework for class, okay, is that if you didn't, okay, replay this slide, okay, and write down 3 things, okay, that I said about the functions of protein. Then attached to this PowerPoint that you just filled out is a chart, okay? I want you to try your best to fill out the chart that reviews carbohydrates, lipids, and protein. Okay, you can leave the nucleic acid row blank, but I want you to do your best to fill out that chart. Okay, it's going to be graded for having something in every box, and we're going to come together and talk about it as a class. If you're having trouble filling out that chart or have questions about it, please reach out through email. But your homework is to write 3 pieces of information on this slide that we just discussed, that I said but didn't write, and then fill out that chart. And again, I will see you guys on Wednesday.